Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rotation, a Minnesota ROKKR podcast. My name is Ashley, aka MiDNiTE. I am joined, as always, by Kingdom Soldier and IKON coming with the hype tonight, man. It feels like it's been a bit since we've been on to talk COD. So, guys, thank you so much for joining me and everyone in the chat, or if you're listening afterwards, after this thing ain't live. Hello, welcome. Happy to have you. Guys, all right, listen. It's been a busy time. You guys will see why I've been so busy. If you're following the ROKKR version 1 accounts, all right, been busy. So catch me up a little bit. I know there were some roster changes last week. We got our first look at some of those new rosters today. I know Paris played today. Give me like a too long didn't read of what just happened since the end of the last stage.
I might not have read some of what happened after the end of last stage. It's been absolutely bananas. I'll let you, IKON, because I'm sure you may have done some content on all of this craziness. So I'll kind of let you break it down. But it has been utterly bananas.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think some of the biggest things is that there's a change to control, and we have a slew of roster changes. But a lot of the stuff that came out today when it comes to the new gun metas and the changes to the Krig and the changes to some of the other weapons in Cold War, that's not really affecting us yet because we're not playing on that patch. So overall, I think really going into this stage, the biggest things are just going to be that there's a whole slew of roster changes. So there's going to be 4 or 5 different teams trying to get ready. Practically about half the league trying to adjust to new people on their rosters. And then there is a slight control change with the rules, but it doesn't really affect all too much. It seemed like essentially last time, throughout stage 2, when we would be watching control, you're always trying to see okay, if it goes to that 5th round, we're trying to see okay, who has the kill life advantage. And it's just impossible to keep control of. No pun intended. But while that's going on, you can't tell what's going on. Okay, I think Minnesota had a good round here, but was that round better than the one that Seattle had here? It's just it was kind of all over the place. So they changed that to where it goes by what's captured, the ticks and the points that are captured.
What? Hold on. I knew that if you were on if you're on the control point for a little bit, just a little bit, it sticks, right? Or no?
For a tick, for an entire tick. You have to be
for an entire tick.
Yeah, if you don't get the full tick, it still goes back down and shrinks back to going.
Isn't that how it was before?
Yeah.
Well, no,
but instead of trying to
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, instead of trying to count lives, now you're just counting how much has been captured.
Oh, so
to determine who has defense.
Before, if you cap the whole point, you got a minute of extra time.
Oh, I see. So every little tick adds
gets
time.
You 20 seconds, yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the... Listen, hopefully there were some viewers out there that also did not know that, because I'm going to just go with that. That's why I asked, guys, for sure. No, that's crazy. It makes sense, though. I knew that the tick thing had changed, but I didn't know that how you get your side basically in defense has changed. So now you got play the freak and objective. I did see Coach Saints tweet, as soon as they started, because if you guys don't know, so for the stages, if there are changes to the game or the weapons in the game, they do not play on that patch competitively. Because imagine if you started stage 2 and then the first 2 events weren't with Express, but then the last 3 were, then there's a different weapon. It's just not really even playing field, so they're trying to keep each stage uniform with the same rules, which makes total sense to me. It does suck that we have to wait now to get standoff in the rotation, but hey.
It's here.
I know, dude. I haven't played it yet,
kinda.
But I plan to. I plan to channel 2013 MiDNiTE. I'm bringing out the sniper. I'm doing it. I'm excited. But yeah, so that's kind of why we see these changes. We heard it talked about previously, but didn't really see it in action until actually the first CDL matches with it today. Did you guys? I didn't get a chance to watch them, so I guess I was pretty busy. But did you guys like the new kind of new look control?
Yeah, I mean you can't really tell. Go ahead, Kingdom. But
no, that's what I was gonna say. Is honestly, I felt like I was watching Control. I didn't feel like the teams played it drastically different or anything like that. I felt like I was watching the Control and the teams that I would have picked to win, they still were just as dominant. And, it was, today, though, was an easy day of COD. If you're a COD fan, like, consuming today's COD was like, oh, Dallas lost the first hardpoint by a lot. And then they just were themselves for the next 3 maps. Yeah, they got blasted on the first hardpoint. But then they just...
Yeah, it was ugly.
6-0'd them on Express S&D. And then I think they won the Control 3-1. And then they won the last hardpoint. And so it was like it looked like, oh no, is Dallas in trouble? And literally the shots they were hitting in the Crim went 10-0 in the search. Like it was over.
Yeah, I heard that. I actually did hear about it. I was on a work call and somebody goes, or I think it was Brett Diamond goes, Crim's 10-0 in a 6-0 game. I was like, dang, dude, that's crazy.
It was a clean wipe.
So they lost to Paris, who, speaking of team changes, they just had a temp, right, in place of Fire. How was that? Was there a little honeymoon phase? It only lasted that hard point, or how'd they look?
Yeah, pretty much. It only lasted that hard point.
Oh, man. Tough feels.
At least they should. Well, listen, they're playing Dallas, who many would consider still one of the top 3, 4, 5-ish teams somewhere in there.
5? Come on. You can't go farther than 3.
They're top 5 if ROKKR's top 4,
Top 5. I don't know about top 4. Maybe that's something that we could discuss. But they're definitely not like top 2 like everybody thought coming into this season. So that's a little bit different. But if you're Paris, like if you're taking maps and at least being competitive against a team like Dallas, then you're still set up like in this stage. They have to get a win over LAG. They have to get a win over Florida. So if this is the first match that they've been in with temp on their roster. And if they're being at least competitive in at least one of those game types, then, that has to count for something and it has to get them excited for something. But yeah, overall, it was just kind of the first map. One thing I will say, and this is like a trend that I've kind of been seeing over the last stage and maybe a little bit even more than that, is whenever I look at like how Dallas is performing overall, of course, like the big storyline is Hugh and how well he's playing this year. And actually throughout the last stage, Crim6 has been playing much better also. In fact, he led Dallas today throughout their match.
Frying. Yeah, in the hard point.
Yeah, absolutely. But when I look at Shotzi, like Shotzi had a 0.82 today, and it just seems like he's.
Man,
I know,
I have him on my fantasy team. Sorry,
no,
that's why I'm extra
letting you down.
I know.
But yeah, I've just been watching. I'm waiting because like the big guns from last year, like the Sims, the Abizis, like they come out and they're still absolutely shredding and winning tournaments and playing super well. And Dallas is playing okay, not where everybody thought they would. And I think the biggest contribution to that is the fact that Shotzi is not where he was last year and where we kind of expect him to be.
So can we talk about Dallas?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's what we doing, baby. Let's go.
There's this giant narrative flowing around that Dallas is not the Dallas we expect, and that's what everybody keeps saying. But then at the end of every sentence, it's like, but they're really good, and they placed, top 3 in both events, and and it's like, I honestly believe that this is the Dallas that I expected to see. They just know how to freaking win. Like I'm looking at the stats. Dallas has lost more maps than every team in the league, with the exception of Toronto. But they've won more maps than every team in the league, with the exception of FaZe. And FaZe has only won 3 more maps than Dallas. So they just have won, but in a much more dominant fashion than Dallas. Dallas is one of only 3 teams over 40 map wins, and they've now got 12 match wins. They're only 35 points behind FaZe. If they could place top 2, top 3, and FaZe places outside of that in a major, Dallas could be number 1 in the league. Like, I think they're like the San Antonio Spurs of Call of Duty, where nobody really likes how they win. They're not flashy. They somehow eke out these crazy, what's their map 5 or their round 11 record is like 8-0 or something crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're just icy. It's like, I was listening to somebody talk about this, and the stats piece, I can pull that in as well. It's like with Shotzi and 0.8. It's like, if you're playing Call of Duty right, in today's league, it seems like everybody can't go off unless you're wiping the floor with a team, which Dallas just has not been doing. But what they have been doing, whether we want to call it luck or whatever, accidental weird left-handed nades that look like right-handed nades from Minnesota. I think at the end of the day, and this is where me and IKON disagree, I think, but I called the Dallas Empire the second best team in our league. And the reason I call them that is because I would pick them to win against every other team with the exception of the Atlanta FaZe. And if I didn't pick them to win, I'd pick it to be a 3-2. I wouldn't pick for any team in the league to wipe Dallas because of what they did today. It's an example. They've been playing together so long. When they get their fundamentals down, their gunny is good. They can win ones. And if you get Crimsix doing what he did today, like, he had a bad map one. Everybody did, basically. And then it was just like, oh, yeah, we're the Dallas Empire. Let's show everybody that and get out of here. Go have some ice cream. I mean, honestly, this team has been talked about so much recently because all these other teams with these new rookies are coming in looking hot, flaming, doing a good job. And Dallas is just like, hey, we're 10 points away from 200. We pretty much are for sure going to champs this year. When you're playing us, any other team in the league, even FaZe, is like, yeah, we got to bring our A game if we want to beat these guys. These guys are not easy to beat. And I think the honeymoon that IKON talked about, yeah, it was one map long. And at the end of it, they were all smiles on Paris. Like, Temp was cheesing with his new haircut, looking good, looking cool.
Oh, he got a new haircut. Hold on, I gotta go look.
Yeah, he got the red hair off. He
oh, right.
The LA Thieves hair.
That.
Yeah, he got rid of that.
Wait, did he do it like orange, like Paris, or what did he do?
No, just like a nice fade. Like, it's low.
Oh,
low
nice.
It looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. And they looked happy. And then you just saw map after map, and they were like, you could see them going, yeah, we're just not in the same class as these guys. And I'm not saying pro players think that, but mindset is so important. And Dallas just, you punch them in the mouth, punch them in the mouth, punch them in the mouth. They're like, we'll reverse sweep you. We will stay confident when you're beating us on raid. I'm sorry. When you're beating us on raid and there's 0.1 seconds left, we will keep playing and get in that control point and get ourselves to a round 5, map 5, where a mistake or whatever, round 11, where an interesting glitch, creates a loss. But they're just an icy team. And I think that while they're not as dominant as FaZe, they to me look better than Chicago this year and on a consistency basis. Chicago's kind of like this. They look super dominant, and then they're just not. And I was asking IKON, like, before the show, do I think Chicago's going to make a roster change or something like that? But who do you trade? And so with if I'm Dallas, I'm not trading anybody. There's no roster trades in my future. And so I think we have to keep watching out for that team. I think they're getting a little undeserved criticism because all these teams are getting better, and Dallas is like, we're just hanging out at second. And this is what they did last year. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the year, they just started to be like, yeah, we can beat these guys. We can beat these guys. We can beat these guys. And then they won, and it was like, oh, all right, well, GG's Dallas, you're the champions, So Illy's interview spoke to that they're just going to keep grinding. They believe they're going to hit top form in the 4th stage or so, and we'll see what happens. That's my Dallas rant.
I'll just have kind of a counterpoint to that, just while we're here. You can say like they're the best team or like outside of FaZe, you're going to pick them to win and so on and so forth. But in that matchup against Minnesota in the winners bracket, Dallas was not the better team. They absolutely were the worst team in almost every one of those maps in those 5 maps. In the SND on raid, so the map 2, Minnesota was up 5-3, 5-4, and then it just kind of slipped away. And the control, that was what I thought was going to be maybe Minnesota the craziest thing that we saw this year. And it ended up not being the craziest thing because it just got crazier after that. But but still, like, that was like, we were doing the co-stream and I just stopped watching. And then I went back and I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like I didn't know what happened. So
I was asking you. I was like, "Yo, did you see what happened?" We're like, "No, we thought it was over."
No, I had to like go to a different browser and go back and watch it because I just figured it was over. And then you go to the map 5, and had Priesta not stuck his own teammate, they probably win that round 11 too. So I get it, just from the path that they've had throughout last year and winning champs, and then coming into this year and having a strong showing. But in this last major, I just don't think that they're one of the hottest teams in the league. I think that they got extremely lucky against Minnesota, and that kind of propelled them a little bit forward. But I don't look at Dallas the same way I did. I came into this year saying, I'm just going to keep Dallas at 1 until somebody shows me that they're not number 1. And I feel like so many teams over and over are starting to show us now that they're probably not as dominant as they were last year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. The thing for me is, like, I see all these changes, and I'd love to hear your opinion, Ashley. But all these other teams that have made changes, New York, Toronto, LA Thieves, Minnesota, the Gorillas just recently made a change. Florida made a change. Paris made a change.
Dang, everyone made a change. Holy cow.
London has made multiple changes. The only teams that haven't changed is Atlanta, Dallas, Optic Chicago, and have Seattle made a change or no?
No.
Not yet, but I think they will.
They should.
Jeez.
Man, it's funny though, because I was watching The Flank and they were talking about how that Seattle team last year was formed all interestingly, and they were like, why didn't you guys make a change? Why'd you wait so long into the year? They're almost doing a repeat of last year, where they just tried so hard to make this team work with these players and their veteran skill, and it's looking like the same deal. Like Octane's, doing his thing, staying consistent. But it's just not working, and there's something missing.
Better. They're looking better, but it's not enough to get it. They're so low in points that it's like it doesn't matter if you make it closer and you're still losing. You're still losing. But I'll let you finish your point about Dallas there, and then I wanted to maybe split your guys. I'll maybe vote on one side or the other. We'll see.
So let's say this: if you put Dallas against Minnesota, because that's a good point. I think I might have even picked Minnesota to win that series. I don't remember. A 3-2, I believe I said, because I knew it was going to be grueling and hard. But you made my point kinda in the fact that somehow these guys squeak out these wins, even when luck is like when habit becomes a skill. Like it's like it for them, they do the right things enough to where they get lucky. If you're not doing the right things, you get stomped. Like Minnesota would have tore them up if they weren't. When they all spawned, 4 of them spawned at once back at garage and decided, let's all hit water, you hit steps, Shotzi slide behind the pool and get into Tiki and get on the point with 0.1 seconds left, and they just went for it. Other teams would have chalked it. They would have dropped the sticks. They would have started complaining and getting sad and upset. They just never give up on trying to win, and when they lose, and it doesn't look good. And you're right, the way they win is not pretty all the time. Today's win was pretty, but the way they win is not pretty all the time. But I look at all these other teams that have changed. The teams that haven't this year at all are the top 3, and then the Seattle Surge. And so I think the teams that have, made the most out of it, of course, like the Minnesota ROKKR, I think they have the opportunity to make the most out of all of the roster mania that we've seen this year so far, because their player that they've put in has not only shown the most individual skill, but Standy almost looks like he belongs on the team. Like he's like, it's almost like you almost forget, like, wait, was this the roster the whole year? Because these guys look like they're vibing, they get along, they're funny. I've seen Standy on camera and on content. Good dude. Like, it just seems like good pick, Minnesota, GG's, putting yourself in position to stay in top 8 moving into champ. So that's why I have Dallas up there. It's hard for me to pick a team to beat them, to be honest, if it's not FaZe. Even if they went up against Chicago should win that, in my opinion, with their talent. But there's something going on with Chicago where if they're losing, and it's same thing with Dallas. It just doesn't look pretty.
Yeah, Dallas is one of those teams that they are able to show a ton of resilience. I mean, we saw it last year. They had a slow start. They started climbing the ranks and, clawing their way back in pretty quick after the first couple of events last year. And then obviously they won champs. And I mean, by the time champs looked around or rolled around, obviously FaZe was freakish. But to me, Dallas was like the untouchable, right? Clay with his dang flanks, just doing his thing. And just, the whole team was nuts. They had the MVP on their team. So yeah, I mean, this year, I don't know if it's like there's like a Super Bowl hangover. I wonder if there's like a champs hangover, or maybe if it's, a new game comes out and this team's nasty, but they maybe don't pick it up quite as fast. Like, they're still performing well. They'll still take you the distance most of the time. I mean, the fact it sounds like they've played the most dang maps in the CDL. That's not a very confidence-inducing, but I guess if you do look at how how many points they do have and how many of those wins they've eked out, that's obviously a good thing. But I will say, I mean, obviously today they looked great. Apparently I missed it, but you know, they played, who they played? Paris. So
Yeah,
to
right.
just made a change, very fresh. Like,
They're
we'll
expected to
see
win
if they
that.
can. You can be, if you're going to be resilient, you got to be consistent, and they've been less consistent lately. And so we'll see, you know, if they're able to turn it around. They are a scary team, dude. Like, yeah, if Krim is on, and then at least one or two of the other guys is on
Yeah.
too. Like,
It's hard to
geez,
beat,
bro.
yeah.
The fourth guy might not even need to play. They're so nasty. It's scary, man. They got such a talented roster. So yeah, I don't know. Dallas is interesting. It'll be. I mean, the league. We said it all year, but I mean, obviously with Toronto just stealing the dang show, just won a major, beat FaZe in a best of 9. Dang, I don't know if my whistle came through because of my mic, but dang, dude, like it just shows you that every team really can compete at that level and beat anyone. And yeah, like Lan, I miss her. She'll be back hopefully soon. We'll be on Lan and things will be, you know, there's no complaints on Lan, right? There, you can't say anything when it's on Lan. So we'll see how it all kind of shakes out. But this year so far has been uber competitive, and I'm just excited to kind of see like where else it's gonna go. What other team, like, I mean, obviously you talk about Chicago. They're a little surprising, right? They've always kind of, I mean, listen, I was a member there for 9 years. I watched all the games. Lots of ups and downs. Sometimes some consistent ups, but very mostly an up and down team. But do you guys think that, like you guys mentioned that Optics, one of the teams that hasn't made a change, who do you think of the top 3 would be most likely to make a change? Would it be Optic? If Dallas has a bad stage right here, did they make a change? If FaZe turns off their monitors while they play and then they lose, will they make a change? Like, do you guys think that any of the top three teams could make a change after this stage, or does it depend?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't see how they would. I think Optic is playing super well. I thought that they did enough to win that matchup against Minnesota, and they just kind of had a play that went against them, which we haven't even touched on that play by accuracy.
Woo!
But I feel like Optic, like, they're not getting the finishes that they want, but they're still beating teams like Dallas, and they're still, you know, making their way through the majors. They're just not playing the way that, or they're just not getting the breaks that you normally see them get to get further in majors, like to get to a losers bracket finals or to make it to a grand finals or something like that. But when it comes to those top 3 teams, I don't see how any of them make a change. I feel like those are probably the most secure rosters in our league. I couldn't imagine Dallas getting rid of, because if you're thinking of like Dallas, who's not performing for them right now, it's Shotzi. And there's no way that they would get rid. Like, yeah. And then if you look at Optic, like, how is Optic going to get better? Like, Scump's not playing incredible, but he's not playing bad. And do you get rid of Scump? There's no way. Like, you just don't do
That's
that.
not on the
and then,
table. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you look at Atlanta, obviously, I mean, they're unbelievable. So I don't know. You could say that like maybe certain things would make them play better, but I just think with the players that are on those rosters, I don't see how any of those teams make a change. But sure, you could probably make an argument for it one way or another.
I am 100% on the same page with IKON. And one of the things I agree that IKON always brings up about Dallas is they are missing Clayster. There's a little piece that they are missing that may make them more dominant. But as soon as one of the younger guys steps up and is that gas person, they'll be fine. You know, like, somebody has to be that voice on the team. Krim is going to be Krim. And Clay has switched his role and become a Krim 6 on New York. So, you know, it's like they do need a little bit of that gas. But I think that Dallas and FaZe for sure, no changes this year. Even if they had a bad stage, the only way they change is like what happened to Vivid on LAG. If for some reason, and I'm just going to say it, it's not a hot take, if for some reason someone like Hook, if Kyler believes that he could be better served on a different team, but where would he go? He's, you know, like, he's going to go to Optic or FaZe. There's where else would Kyler go rather than the Dallas Empire? You know, like, and again, I love Call of Duty. We talk about LAN online, all of this kind of stuff. The top 3 teams are always these 3 teams. Like, it somehow seems to be Optic, FaZe, and Envy always at the top of the league. Like, they figure it out. It's their culture. It's how long they've been doing it, the habits, the behaviors, and of course they're attractive to good players. So players will switch around these teams. I had a whole little speech that I wrote about the 1v3. I'm so sad that we never got to talk about it.
we definitely could talk about that next for sure.
When we do, I want to give more credit to the ROKKR, but I don't see a change with any of those teams because Optic isn't going to trade Seth, and so they're going to make the only player they would trade is Dashy, and why would you do that? It's really like they would have to be horrible. Now they've placed 4th and 5th. If Seth doesn't play on another Sunday, somebody's having a deep conversation like that.
So that's why I brought this up, because I agree with you guys. It'd be absurd for any of those top 3 teams to make a change. But if Optic were to not have a up in the near future and they finish stage 3 in a rough way, you got 2 stages left till champs, and if you're not in that top 8, baby, you're not even going. So It's not that I'm forecasting that. I think Optic is a better team than what they've been showing. Just the caliber of players alone, if they're able to get on the same page, get in a groove, they've stopped streaming scrims, they're scrimming best of 11s, including SD. Like, they're doing their thing, right? But if it gets to that point, it's not really the same as years past where, oh, well, it doesn't really matter because if we show up to champs, like, we're going to perform. And then sometimes they wouldn't, but more often than not, they would. But this is the first time ever in Call of Duty, like, competitive history that you could possibly not make champs and you're in the league. That's crazy. And so I'm not saying that Optic is a bad team, but listen, that's my second favorite team, right behind ROKKR. I'll be the first one to say it. But and I just brought this up for argument's sake, but if there were to be a team change in the top 3, it would hopefully not, but possibly be Optic if things keep going tough, which I hope they don't, because that would be just it's like you guys say, who do you bench, who do you switch in or out, or what's the plan? Do you bring in general? Why would you do that? I don't like there's just so many, there's not really like a clear distinct path there based on the caliber of players that they have. So, and it comes down to team chemistry at times too, but we have seen a lot of teams improve with new additions. You look at ROKKR, Standy coming in, absolutely absurd rookie debut, played pretty well after that as well, seems to be meshing with the team really well, even outside the game. Sneak peek, I just was watching one of our drafts of Saga, our docuseries, which will be uploaded next week. And it's awesome to see the footage of the guys together. He's good vibes, he's young, he's got a lot of energy, he's crazy. So crazy in a good way, like he's wild. And that's kind of what those teams need. So, speaking of ROKKR, speaking of the craziness that was the 0-6 map count at the beginning of Stage 2, number 1 seed for the Stage 2 Major, 2, losing to Dallas in a horrific fashion, that .1 control, the round 11 nade stick, what the heck? Come on, Vondahar. But then you got, the next day, a little bit of light luck comes back their way, and they play Optic. And this is the clip right here. We're going to watch this together and react, and we got to talk about this because this is just absolutely insane. So, if you guys didn't know, in case you missed it, you're living under a rock, is map 5, round 11 in the search. All right, there's been 10 rounds. Actually, Optic was up 5-3. So ROKKR has driven it back on Moscow here. If you look at this, Dashy and Scump just killed or eliminated 2 people. You got 4 versus 2. Optic has 4. ROKKR has 2. Shannon, roll it. Let's check it out.
He's close corner on bomb, close left.
Accuracy takes out 1. It's 2v3. Dang, dude.
It is awesome to go back through and hear it.
Dude, my stomach hurts too, Preston. Jake coming out at the end is hilarious. Wow. Yeah, so that's the clip. The literal most insane clip that I have seen in years in competitive Call of Duty. I know it's not exactly the same, but the first thing that came to my mind was Proofy's 3-piece at X Games back in COD Ghosts. He got a little bit of a lineup there, but it was a little bit more of like a I guess you call it a skill play. It kind of upset me. A lot of saying that they got lucky. Like ROKKR got lucky, Accuracy got lucky, yada yada, the whole deal. And yes, he did. You do need a little bit of luck in that situation. It was 2v4. You know, they didn't have odds on their side, but Envoy pushes up. I don't know why he did that.
Which is a massive mistake. Yep.
Sorry, Envoy, but hey, I mean, he's confident. And I mean, if you look at the range, I don't know what Envoy had in his hands, but he kind of should have won that too, right? Like he has a sub versus AR.
He was kind of blind. He was still running though. He was like in run motion.
True, he got caught. He got caught with his pants down a little.
Yeah. Like,
and they were trying to execute a bomb plant, and he's trying to go for full control. So I get what he's trying to do, but it didn't end up working out that time, and it just set up the rest of what we're about to talk about. So Envoy pushes up. Accuracy says, nah, I got the ice. Kills him. And then you have Accuracy, who's around the corner from the 3 remaining Optic members. Attach, he's coming up the escalators to try to pinch those guys, okay? Accuracy throws a nade. He weakens, I don't know how severely he weakens Formal, but he does. Like, somebody's weak from that nade he threw.
Yeah,
and almost
it was Formal,
almost directly after that, Attach pushes from escalators, and I believe it was Scump or Dash. I can't remember which.
Scump.
And I don't know why. Scump and Dashy should have never been butt to butt like they were. It's all in the heat of the moment. You don't really know. You're trying to like execute your thing, but at least whoever had the bomb should have got on the bomb and like been heglitching.
Well, it was Formal, I think, though, that was going to slide the bomb.
Formal had the bomb?
Yeah. I don't know if he had it. It was either him or Seth, because Formal picked it up.
Had bomb.
Yeah, I think Formal picked it up.
I'm armchair quarterbacking the heck out of this, okay? I'm trash at COD. Just let me preface that. But, all right, Attach comes through. He gets some shots. He does die. He does not eliminate anybody. But the combination of Accuracy weakening one of the Optic members with an aid, Attach gets a little bit of shots, gets the pew-pew from escalators. And at that point, Lamar's only good play from then, because he knows he weakened somebody and Attach just called all of them out. The only chance he has in that moment is to do exactly what he did. Now, 9 times out of 10, I think the Optic guys don't bunch up, or they're not sitting a certain way, or like Dashy like just takes one step to the left maybe. That doesn't happen. It's highly unlikely. But it did happen. And I think Accuracy made the exact right play. He got an ace in round 11, map 5, in just an elimination match moment at a major. You can't write this stuff, right? So I don't know. That's my spiel on it. It was an insane play. I don't know if we'll see anything like it. I don't know if my heart could take seeing anything like it for a while, but I would love to know, like, your guys' thoughts. Did you think it was lucky? Did you think Optic choked? Did you think it was both? What happened from your guys' perspective?
Go ahead.
I'll be kind of quick with this real quick, just because the only thing with this is I just want to push back against the narrative that it was a lucky play. It seems like you've heard over and over again, like, some 7 million light years away, stars aligned, and like, no, like, the dude made an educated decision. He knew Formal was weak. He knew Scump was 1 bullet. Scump had 30 HP. So, and he knew where everybody was. If he doesn't push and if he doesn't take that gun battle, now he's more than likely going to be doing 3 individual 1v1s and winning a scenario like that with the bomb down, right? If he's not aggressive, bomb goes down, now you have to win 3 individual 1. But it's not going to happen. So he knew that Formal was weak. Who knew Scump was weak? Now, there was maybe just a sliver of luck, because when he jumped around the corner, obviously he was putting those initial bullets into Formal, and one of them went through Formal and killed Scump as he was laying prone behind him. So if you want to say luck, like, maybe that's a little sliver, because he didn't mean to shoot Scump, obviously, through Formal's body. But he made the decision to push. He got the shots on the Formal, got lucky that one came through and finished Scump while he was playing prone behind him. And then he immediately transferred over to Dashy and got, the third in a row there. So I don't know. It's just, every time I've seen this kind of be explained, it just seems like people are saying, well, all these things had to happen, right? And yeah, they did, but you got to give them credit. I mean, how many people would have maybe just like crept up and tried to finish the kill on formal? Or no, I mean, this is the moment I have to full send, and that's what he did, and he was able to get all three. So that's my only take. I just give the man his credit, right? He made a decision, he went through, he hit his shots, he won the round, and I'm sure a ton of different players would have played that differently. So I give him props for making the decision. It wasn't an easy one to make.
I think that was one of the best 1v3s in Call of Duty history. I think, unfortunately, because of the team it was on, it is going to be a little more forgotten than it should be. If it was on any other team, if he did that to FaZe, we'd still be seeing it on the timeline being retweeted. Because it was on Optic and then the tweet thing happened, it just really put a different spin on the play. But everyone, I mean, we're all, Call of Duty has always run on green batteries. Franchising has changed that a lot. But still at this point, Optic is Optic. Everybody thought they won. You can't call it luck if you lose 2 rounds in a row before losing that one. Like, luck would be if somehow they luckily got to that place. Like, luck is more so what happened with Dallas and you guys. Like, with Dallas and the ROKKR, where the nade gets thrown out of the wrong hand and kills attached somehow. Like, but that may be luck for Dallas. They still had to win the round, but that may be luck. But there was no accidental deaths in this play. The team decided to line up. They knew they were in a line. They knew they could see each other. Dashy was saying, well, I couldn't really shoot. And by the time I saw that somebody was there, I was dead. No matter how many stars had to align for Optic to be in the position they were in, accuracy still had to throw the nade when he threw it. He still had to hit the corner when he hit it. He still had to jump a little bit as he came around. He still had to hit every shot that he hit and aim in the exact right place in that moment. When you're on a 1v3 versus Optic Gaming in round 11 and you're about to be eliminated from a tournament, and all of a sudden you decide, I'm just going to be icy. Oh, I see someone. I see 2 people. I'm going to keep firing. I'm going to now bring my gun up towards Dashy's head. He's dead. I just pulled off the best 1v3 in my career. Like, honestly, I think it's the ice. And it's the same thing that I was saying, the same argument I was making about Dallas is like, sometimes you got to give people credit for winning. Like, the ROKKR had to play that the way they played it, or the luck wouldn't have been on their side. Now, technically, there's more bad luck on Optic than there is good luck on the ROKKR, in my opinion, because I get your point about why were they like that in that corner, but what a lot of pros have said is that if Formal wasn't at the front and if he would have slid the bomb, but the nade that accuracy threw made Formal slide back in that line rather than across to like the steps over there where he could have, like, accuracy would have been dead. There's nothing he could have done. They had every angle covered. And so I think what they did in the beginning worked, but Dylan got skumped down to like 15 or something like that HP, and it did make things easier for accuracy. And when Lamar came around the corner, he just made the right play. And it's sad to see the narrative that has become of that play. I hope it is seen repeatedly. I hope that when we do greatest plays of the year, there's I don't care how many plays there's going to be for the rest of the year, that has to be top 3, like, period. Because it's one of the greatest in the history of our esport. And so I was wildly impressed. I think some people forgot that Optic was up 5-3, could have closed out the map. Like, could have ended all of this and not had to
multiple
do that.
times.
Yes, and at the end of the day, I'll say this much. Of course I feel for the Optic guys. In the moment I did. Like, that had to be,
I felt
like,
horrible.
Oh, I was like, I can't imagine how that feels. Hector was like, yeah, I just looked, he just looked out the window. Just stared off.
Yeah, what else do you do, man?
You can't, your brain has to go from, we just won game 5, round 11, and in a millisecond, oh crap, it's over. Like, and
when I saw it, I thought he got a 2-piece, but he got a 3-piece. It just said Minnesota wins. I was like, how?
Same.
So I agree with IKON. And of course, yes, we're on the rotation on the Minnesota ROKKR channel. But there's nobody in. You can say all you want about luck. We don't know what other plays anybody else would have made, but what we do know is that Lamar made the right play, the exact right play. And that's the only way that could have worked out in his favor, is that he made the exact right play. He made the best decision in the moment. He threw a nade right after he killed Envoy. He slid out. He almost ego child, if you think about it. Like, he threw a nade and knew a couple guys were around the corner, at least two, at least Scump and Formal, and just challenged them. Because he probably thought,
Attach just probably called them all out, right? Like, maybe we'd have to rewatch the clip.
Brandon, that's a good question. Like, if Attach saw
I think
Brandon,
Attach saw both of them, and yeah, maybe he didn't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Because Dashy was behind that little phone booth or whatever in the corner, so it's like maybe Dylan didn't see him. But regardless, Lamar made the right play. He was. I would think that as a player, you go out swinging, and Lamar was like, "I'm gonna pick up as many of them as I can, but I'm probably dead. It's a 1v3. It's Optic Gaming. It's Game 5, Round 11. They got us. Yeah, they just killed my teammate, Top Eskies." And then he slides out, and oh snap, it's over. And I more so want to congratulate the Minnesota ROKKR than anything else, than say, what the luckiest play in the history of COD. That would be like if somebody naded across the map and got a
Optic Van is the luckiest play.
That was
and that's awesome.
Goodness.
Like, and it's awesome when it's awesome when the stars do align. But is the Optic Van as skillful as knowing where three people are, acing, and then killing three of them in one? Like, listen, we just released the ROKKR Scuff top 5 plays of the stage today. Shout out Scuff Gaming. We released those, and obviously that clip was number 1. But guess who else had an ace in that top 5? It was accuracy. And guess what map it was on? Moscow versus Dallas. Moscow is where the Iceman lives. It's pretty crazy. It's definitely one of the craziest COD clips of all time. Honestly, I might have to put some time in my off time to just finding those I want a top 10 of those craziest plays of all time. Bro, Optic Van, the Proofy 1v3. There's plenty more, obviously, that don't involve Optic.
Scumps 1v3 and Champs back in Black Ops 2.
Yes, on that weird map with the broken stuff everywhere. I forget what it's called. Whew, God, man, COD's crazy. COD's crazy. Speaking of crazy COD, so we got stage 3 starting this week. It actually started today. We typically do these on Tuesday. We will be back next Tuesday, hopefully on the regular day. But so we had Dallas Empire taking out Paris Legion 3-1 today, and then Ultra, did they 3-0 or 3-1 Mutineers?
3-0.
Trio.
It was super exciting day today. I haven't even watched it. I actually do plan to go back and watch the matches just to see how they played and see how it all went down. It's a little less exciting when you know who won, but I still do like to see like who's doing what and all that stuff. So let's do you want to do some predictions for the rest of this weekend? Obviously it's Thursday today. We can just start right ahead on Friday. LA Thieves versus Seattle Surge. This is actually, I'm looking forward to this match. Probably the most until the ROKKR match on Saturday. LA Thieves, they make a team change. They bench Slasher, which still makes my brain explode. But honestly, Kenny running the main AR. They got, what do they got? Draza. Who's the other kid they picked up? Why can't I think of his name?
Venom.
Okay, sorry, Venom, the disrespect. They pick him up, and they're just on form. Maybe they're in a little honeymoon stage. Who knows? But they're looking a lot better, right? The vibes are up. People are smiling. That's so crazy. And we've been saying, I even said, it might have even been in the last podcast, maybe it was a co-stream, I can't remember when I said this, but, Seattle is better than the points that they have, I think. But I don't know if they're able to get over the hump. But I do think they're really good. I think that team is far better than the amount of points that they have. I know that doesn't make any sense because you have to win to prove yourself. But I think Seattle's low-key a scary team. And now they've had some time to tinker. I mean, so has Thieves. But what's your guys' forecast for this LA Thieves versus Seattle Surge? What's your prediction? We'll go in order here. I'll go with you, Kingdom, first.
It's funny you say that about Seattle because they are the reverse of Dallas. They have close maps, but they lose. They don't win, at the end of the day. But they've also played 30 less maps than Dallas because Dallas pushes around Game 5 a lot. I would say this is a hard one. I'm going to give it to Seattle. I honestly think the Thieves look really good. Watching the 0 to 100 thing on YouTube and seeing their vibes and everything, they're a totally different team. They feel different. Just watching them smile and laugh, and everybody seems so comfortable. It's going to be interesting because, Draza was saying, I've played once on LAN, and so when LAN does come back eventually, it's going to be interesting how that team performs. without someone like Slasher, like without Austin on the team. But I would say for this, I'm going to give it to the Surge.
So they just removed slide canceling, right?
3-2. Yeah, but that's not included.
It's
I
not
don't
in
think
this
that
patch,
they're not
yeah.
playing on that patch. For
Word,
stage
that's
3.
right. We just went over that at the beginning of the podcast. Yeah, never mind. No, yeah, that adds up, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how you. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna say
predict
3-2
Seattle.
Seattle. Yeah.
Same, dude. I'm not copying your homework, but definitely like Thieves were looking pretty scary. But just I believe in I want Surge to win. I've never been a Seattle Surge fan before, like just watching them play recently, even the close matches versus ROKKR, they've been really entertaining. I think if you could just get like Pristini's been going off, you saw Gunless step it up, Octane's wild. I know Looney doesn't put up the best numbers, but he really is like. I'm guessing the strategist on the team, like if he's able to be on form, like they're a pretty gnarly team. So I don't know. I'm taking Surge 3-2 over La Thieves. IKON, who you taking?
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing, but these two teams are like kind of in the same place for me. Like they've both beaten teams recently that you kind of expect them to beat. Like they did get a win in the Stage 2 major over Florida. They did get a win over Paris. They almost, I mean, that was a really close battle with Minnesota in that Stage 2 major. So they're beating teams that you kind of think, okay, if they want to make the next step, they need to beat these teams that are also in the middle of the pack. But you can kind of say the same thing for LA Thieves. Sure, they got absolutely obliterated by Toronto, as most people did in that Stage 2 major. But before that, they were beating New York. They were beating London Royal Ravens. They were beating Paris. So these teams are kind of in that middle of the pack, 6, 7, 8 range. And it's just who's going to end up taking that next step forward. And this is the perfect group for them to do it in also. Because if you look at Group B, I think you have the two teams at the top in Atlanta and Chicago. And then after that, I think LA, New York Subliners, Seattle, London, I think any of those teams can be the next team that gets into winner's bracket. So this is an important match, and it's just the second day of the first week of the third stage. I mean, we're really on, and it's super important for seeding and who's going to end up where. So I do have just a little bit more confidence. A lot of it probably goes towards chemistry and how long they've been playing together as the same roster. I'm not sure they have the same firepower eventually. They're not getting the overall production at the SMG position that they need to be getting. Pristini's playing much better, but we still need to see Looney pick it up a little bit. But I am going to go Seattle here. But I'd expect over the course of the stage the LA Thieves definitely get a little bit better. I'll say 3-2 Seattle.
Whew, all right. Well, hopefully we're all right. Otherwise, our graphic that Shannon posts tomorrow night will be sad. If we're all
I should have
wrong.
just been different.
Yeah, sometimes low key. Sometimes I take different predictions than you guys just to try to catch up in points. I'm just trying to catch up. So the next match is Optic Chicago versus London Royal Ravens. It's the London Royal Ravens home series, and I'm sorry to say, I'm just gonna lay my prediction right out. Optic, they're pissed, bro. They're coming out swinging. They're gonna deck the Ravens 3-0 on their fake home turf of the home series. That's my prediction. Do I get extra points? Yeah, I get extra points for predicting the map count. I don't know. We'll see. Kingdom, what do you think? Optic versus London.
I think they are going to look really good. I think Optic is going to... Optic seems to, when they come in these bounce back games against lower ranked teams, if it's a high, if this was like FaZe, I might be like, yikes, Optic could have a bad stage here. But to start out against London and then they play the Surge on Saturday, like they could easily have a 2-0 at the end of the weekend. I think they're going to 3-0 London.
High five.
Yeah.
IKON. We have no differentiation yet?
No, 3-0 for Optic here. I think LA Thieves will... What am I doing? I swear, I'm in a different day somewhere. But yeah, I think London, with the roster changes that they've made, I think that over time, they're definitely going to be getting better. They just brought in Zaptius from Westar, who had a lot of success in Challengers. So I think eventually they're already playing better than they were during the first stage and the first half of the second stage. So they're already playing better. But when you're talking about those guys at the top in Atlanta and Optic and Dallas and those guys, I just don't see it yet. So I'll go 3-0 Chicago as well.
Y'all copied me. No, I'm just kidding. It just makes sense. We'll see. Hopefully our graphic at the end of tomorrow looks sick and we're all right getting mad points. Saturday, you got Paris versus the Gorillas. My lord. Gorillas. So both these teams just made changes. You got Paris bringing on Temp, getting a fire out of there. You got LA Gorillas. What'd they do? They got Silly moving to AR, and they got who? Blank?
Silly's moving to
Silly
SMG.
moving to SMG, and then they dropped
sorry, I had it
Vivid,
backwards.
right?
Drop Vivid, bringing in Chino.
Oh, I love Chino. Yo, I'm excited for Chino. I'm excited to see how that team does. Do you guys think was that the move for them, you think? That
No.
Nobody's
No.
Okay.
I mean, they benched their best player, but I get why. Like after hearing the behind the scenes, that Vivid didn't.
Wait, what happened?
He didn't want to play with them. Like Vivid kind of. It'd be like if Big Wait came out and was like, hey, let's make a change, and they didn't. He might be like, bench me, send me somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're outperforming your team, that's hard. And yes, these guys are all world champions, all this kind of stuff. They're veterans and they have, but I think Vivid was just at a place where he was like, I'm clearly playing the best on this team and it's not working. So let's like trade me.
I don't know if I like that
do
vibe
something.
at all.
And so,
right?
if someone isn't feeling their team, no matter how good they are,
I'm not feeling them.
Yeah, you kind of
team.
That was their, and so they either would have had to have traded someone else, or a couple of other people, or drop Vivid for the moment. And are they going to perform better? That's going to be rough. This match is going to be a grudge match, I can tell you that much, because the Paris Legion, these are both teams that really need as many W's as they can muster.
Yeah, they need
just
points.
To desperately need points. And you look at the LA Thieves, it's like, yeah, they might win or lose, but they're sixth. They've kind of snuck their way into that top 8, and as long as they can put together a good enough team, they can stay there for the rest of the year. Legion and Gorillas are fighting to get up, and so this is a hard match to call. I'm gonna give it to Legion though. I just think they're gonna get better as a team. I think if they can just keep fighting, and they showed some scrappiness and some potential against Dallas. If they showed that same scrappiness against the Gorillas with Silly switching positions, them dropping Vivid, who was a good reason why they were able to do the things that they were able to do, like beating FaZe. I just don't think the Gorillas will be able to stand up. And I'm going to say, I'll even be bold enough. I'll say 3-1 Paris.
Woo! Kingdom going for them points.
Interesting. Yeah, I look at this matchup, and if you're Paris, you have to win this matchup, because if you lose this matchup, you've already lost once to Dallas, and if you lose this, you're losing to a team that you need to beat to get into that top 3. So if Paris loses this, they're basically already in that elimination bracket.
Yeah.
But if you're LAG, I don't know. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes with them or whatever. If whatever you said is true, then if you're Vivid, you're one of the 48 players on earth that's in the Call of Duty League. So you just got to suck it up and you just got to make it work, right? I mean,
they built the team around him, didn't they? He was the only one they kept. They bring in Silly and Assault.
Yeah, they kind of did. I think they were a little late to the party, or maybe some of their original iterations didn't work out because of the market. But I honestly, to IKON's point, I think you're right. Paris has to win this. The Gorillas, whatever was happening behind the scenes, I think we might see, as a result of this, maybe one of the first 1-to-1 trades within the league. But we'll see, because I don't think Vivid's going to hang out on the bench for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no.
Or a Slack.
They're gonna.
Not Slack, but Slasher. So
if he's not wanting to play, they will for sure bargaining chip him. Yeah. You would think. Interesting. Yeah. So IKON, did you say your prediction? Paris?
No, just to finish, I do think that Paris is going to win this. It wouldn't shock me at all if it ends up going to a map 5. So I'll say 3-2 Paris. Just bringing in Chino, I'm not sure that gives them the push that they need, because we did see Chino last year. I know this is an entire different year and whatever, but last year he didn't have the greatest of seasons. So before you start to get on LAG's bandwagon and stuff, you want to see them perform and get wins over teams like Paris or Florida or other teams that are in their group. So for now, especially, we saw that Paris was scrappy today and was able to at least take a map out of Dallas. And if they're able to do that against Dallas, who knows what can happen against LAG. So I'm going to go 3-2 Paris, but it wouldn't shock me either way, either of these teams winning here.
Would shock me either. I'm going to go Paris. Man, should I just be crazy? I'm trying to get points over y'all and go against y'all's prediction.
You have to say 3-0 then.
I want to say 3-0, but my heart's telling me 3-1. I think Paris will win 3-1. Yeah, there's some weirdness. I don't know what's true or not in that LAG thing, but it does seem weird that Vivid was one of their very strongest players, and then I would say it's argumentative, but maybe you could argue that Silly was the second strongest player. Then you move roles for him to accommodate Chino. I don't know how that's going to work for them, and we'll see. Next match, my favorite match of the weekend. Yes, it is the only time that ROKKR plays. Actually, my favorite match of the weekend is probably going to be Ultra versus Dallas. That's going to be a banger.
That'd be a big one.
Woo! But yeah, we got ROKKR versus Florida Mutineers on at 3:30 Central Standard Time. Right here, you can watch the co-stream with IKON and I. We'll be breaking down the match in between the maps. It's a good time. We're good vibes. Watch with us, man. Hang out, chat, all that. So, ROKKR, Florida Mutineers. I haven't gotten a chance to watch the match earlier, and they did play Toronto, which Toronto is just looking spicy. Did they look spicy again today?
They did. Yeah,
I think they're just good. Who'd they put on for Slacks again?
You talking about Florida?
Yeah.
Havoc.
Who'd they bring on? Havoc. Okay, sorry. I swear I pay attention. I just haven't. I've been all over the place this last week. So Havoc with Florida. Yeah. Listen. I think ROKKR will win. I'm just sorry. I'm just breaking the flow here. I'm just going to predict right away. I think ROKKR's going to win. Man, I think it's a 3-0. I think the boys are going to come correct. And sorry, Mutineers, you're going to get schmabobbled two matches in a row. Knock on wood, of course. No jinx. Don't want to get rid of any of our insane luck that we apparently have. So just kidding. But yeah, Kingdom, what are you thinking? ROKKR versus Florida here. Who you taking? What's the map count?
Florida didn't look really good. I mean, they got the search today to round 11, but outside of that, they didn't look good at all. I think there's, this seems like the theme of a lot of teams that struggle this year is like a pacing issue or something like that. Minnesota ROKKR should 3-0 this. It's interesting that you're going to put Florida in a position to be 0-2. I'm looking at the rest of the teams.
You don't want to be 0-2 in this group.
No, and you haven't played Dallas yet. You don't want to be 0-2 and you haven't yet played Dallas. I think Dallas is going to be 4-1 again. Maybe they'll lose to the ROKKR or some other team, but and they could lose twice. I mean, this is but honestly, I think ROKKR and Dallas are the two best teams. Well, I missed Ultra. They're over there on the left. So they could lose to Ultra. They could drop 2. But I'm going to say that the ROKKR, yeah, they're going to 3-0 Florida here. And I think it's going to be a testament to the ROKKR still being the team that they showed up once they got Standy. Yeah, they've lost a couple times. That's part of Call of Duty, especially when you play in a major. But I think that they're still going to be dominant, and Florida's just not in their class right now.
Yeah, this is weird. We've basically been the same throughout, but I'm going to go 3-0 here, Minnesota too. I mean, if you're just looking at what Florida did today, first of all, they just made a roster change, so they're trying to adapt to that. When they played Toronto today, Toronto, of course, did look really good, and we talked about this on the last co-stream when we had that last Battle of the North, that when Toronto is really just absolutely on fire, it's when Bance is playing super well. And today, Bance dropped a 0.9. So they were able to get a 3-0 over Florida. And Bance, I mean, not that he played bad, but he didn't play tremendous like we saw at the end of stage 2 and in the major. So I don't know, just looking at Florida overall, they're going through the roster changes. Today, Neptune and Havoc, their SMGs both dropped less than a 0.7, like a 0.67, 0.68, somewhere in there. So if you're going to battle against Attach, who has looked fantastic all year, and Standy's coming in and he puts pressure all over the place on the map, I just think that even though they have a tremendous AR and a tremendous flex, it's not enough if you have SMGs just putting pressure all over you. So I'm going to go 3-0 here, Minnesota. Hopefully Florida figures it out, because this is a roster coming into the year that I thought, well, you had the top 3 teams. Florida can be one of those 4, 5, 6 teams, like they're talented enough, especially at AR and Flex. We just haven't quite seen them put it together yet. So we'll see what happens, but Minnesota 3-0.
Which, funny enough, some people have said Florida is a top 6, top 5 scrim team, but when it comes to the rubber hitting the road in matches, they just don't. They've struggled all year in putting it together.
Dang, you think it's the rookie vibes? Or they got a couple younger players on there?
Yeah, Neptune definitely has a lot to learn, but this is his first year playing COD. Like he
played Halo before, right? He's not new.
No, he's new to COD though, but he's good. But just there's some fundamental things that he just has to learn, and playing is going to help him learn that. Like they have a good future, I'll say that much. The Florida Mutineers, like as a roster, they probably have a good next year and year after and things like that if they can keep him.
Sheesh. Man, I hope we win, bro. We got to start off on it. I just got anxiety looking at the groups. We got Ultra, Dallas, Florida, Paris, LA. Actually, it's not that bad of a group. It's just, you got to come correct. You look at Ultra, you look that other group. Actually, it's so crazy, guys. We're in a position right now where every team in the COD League just about feels like they either have upset potential or the potential to rip one and get top 4, top 3, getting up there. It's just crazy how competitive this league is. And let me just gas up CDL for a sec. Listen, they don't pay me, but maybe they should, because I'm about to gas them up hard. This is the best competitive Call of Duty that we have had in years. Shout out Treyarch, shout out Von Har, shout out the whole team over there. I know it's not just Von, but yeah, man, you look at the old maps coming back. You got Raid, best map of all time. You got Express. Whoo, the search on that's amazing. And now we've got Standoff coming back, which unfortunately won't be until stage 4, but the maps make this amazing. The gunplay's crazy. They're updating it consistently. It's going to be a crazy year. And just looking at the teams, the quality of these teams, you've seen a lot of roster movement to try to, get the edge, get those points, make it to champs. I'm in a constant state of nervousness because it's so exciting, man. All right, let's get back into the predictions. Let's round this thing out. Optic Chicago in the Game Field marquee match on Saturday versus Surge. Man, I'm about to say some crazy stuff, okay? Listen.
Oh, here it comes.
I'm probably about to be wrong, too. But listen, number 1, I want to preface this. I am trying to catch up in points. Number 2, I love Optic, and I think they will be pissed against London, and they will 3-0 the crap out of them. But there's just something about Surge, man. I'm on Team Surge lately. I think they're one gunfight away from turning these. IKON's cringing so hard right now. Bro, Seattle could beat Optic. I think they could. 3-2 Seattle. I'm going for them upset points in predictions. It's not probable, but I'm swinging for the fences here, baby. That's my upset pick of the week. I am crazy. Greenwall, don't come for me. You know I love you guys. But I think it's possible, man. Surge is looking crazy. Optics a little upsy-downsy. Who knows? IKON, what are you thinking? I saw you shaking your head a lot while I was talking, which is good. I'm here for it.
I mean, I don't know where you get the basis for that prediction, but these two teams just played.
I'm trying to get points,
man. These two teams just played, and Seattle did win map 1. It was 250 to 205 or something. But then after that, the S&D was a blowout. The control was a blowout. The next hard point really wasn't all that close. And Optic was playing really well against Minnesota. So I don't know. I just don't see it. I do think Seattle's playing better. I think that they're no longer in the basement of the CDL. I don't think that you can mention them as the 12th best team or the 11th best team. I think that, they're slowly but surely climbing out of that basement.
9th.
Yeah, 9.
They're at the middle of the steps in the basement.
Sure, but they're playing, I don't know, arguably the second best team, and I just don't think it's going to go well. So maybe I would give them a map if they could sneak a hard point or a control. Maybe. I mean, Optic's been playing really well in search as of late too. So I'll go 3-1, but Optic's definitely going to win this, in my opinion.
I was going to say...
My brain is predicting that as well.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-1 as well. I might just switch it up and make us all be different and say 3-2.
3-2 Optic?
So I don't think Seattle has enough maps that like they're more confident on than Optic does. I think Chicago
Yeah, that's a good point.
has a good enough map pool to beat Seattle. I think they struggle against teams that can, like FaZe can win on almost anything, almost any game mode. So it's hard to play against them and Veto and all that. But I think with Optic, they just have a little more that they can do than the Surge. I think the Surge will try to get them on certain things, and Optic can veto them out. And I think they'll win. I think at the end of the day, yeah, I'll say 3-2. I think it'll be a 3-1, but I'll say 3-2 for the sake of trying to get more points than you guys.
I can't believe I just predicted that. All right, moving on to Sunday. We got LA Thieves going up against the London Royal Ravens. It's their home series. Can they get a win on their home series? They've looked abysmal lately. I hope they can turn it around just for the sake of entertainment. I love an underdog story. They are in the basement right now. They are dead last in CDL. I swear they have like 10 or 20 points. They've made 8 roster changes. I made that up. I don't know if it's that many, but it's quite a lot. Do you think that, I mean, we've seen some teams rebound strongly. Do you think that London can turn it around? Is it time? Or is LA Thieves going to nab them here? Kingdom, let's hear your prediction first here for LA versus London.
It's funny you said they have 10 or 20 points because they have 10 plus 20 points. Sad but true.
Dang, man.
Oh, that's unfortunate. And yes, they used to have Parasite, who has had more roster changes than most organizations in the history of Call of Duty. But I think this is where I want to say London is going to get a W. But here's the thing. For them, turning it around is getting one map win. Like one match,
True.
sorry, not map. One match for them is turning it around, then they might lose the next one. Like, honestly, are they gonna, like, who's in their group? Yeah, they're gonna have a rough go. I mean, Seattle, New York, LA, Optic, and FaZe. It's rough. So if they're gonna get a win, this is probably the one to steal. New team. Maybe if Seattle beat them, they're kind of
Bro,
feeling
did they dropped Dylan, right?
But
I just remembered that.
yes,
They dropped
for
Dylan?
Zaptius from
Zaptius.
yeah,
Zaptius
Western
is
dude.
nasty.
And that's the thing, is that they're kind of they're like, whatever, let's just throw stuff. Like, and this is where people are like, why haven't the Seattle Surge at least done something? You know, because it's like, you got this team that's like, Parasite, Zaptius, Paul X, come on, everybody's welcome. You know, it's like, and so.
Wait, did they even have they have Shawnee is the only original Raven from the beginning of the year?
Yep.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I think, unfortunately, it's going to be a 3-1 LA Thieves.
Oh, I'm glad you at least gave them a map.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting note that Western squad that was basically beating everybody at the beginning of the year over in Challengers, everybody but Gravity is now already called up into the CDL. So it's interesting to see how, you know, like teams that are really good over in Challengers are starting to get their chances up on pro teams. But when I'm looking at this, I think I like what London's doing. I think that they're definitely better than where they were. But like Kingdom said, this group is just so hard. I think if they were playing LAG, I might give them a shot in that one. If they're playing Florida or Paris, I might give them a shot in one of those two. But I just don't see, especially with how well LA Thieves has been playing since Draza came aboard. I just think that if you're looking at a team that's like, you know, made a roster change and now they're starting to feel themselves, that's LA Thieves. I think that they played really well in that second major. They went on kind of their little mini run there of beating Paris, beating London, beating New York, and then they got smoked by Toronto like everybody did. But if I'm looking at this team, I think that, you know, if the group is a little bit more in their favor as we go into like stage 4 or stage 5, then maybe London can start to make some things happen, but I just don't see where they get a win here. So I'll go 3-1. I'll give them a map. I think they're going to be better. I think they're going to be more exciting than they have been in the past, but I'm kind of feeling this LA Thieves squad right now. So 3-1 LA Thieves.
And the way this league is working, it is so possible that we leave this weekend and London Royal Ravens are 2-0 in their group.
You never freaking know, bro.
I'm
no way.
telling
They're
you,
not
man.
being Optic.
I mean, they've got the honeymoon. Like, has Zaptius, has this roster even played together in a match yet?
No.
So we've never seen them. They could show up and throw some stuff at Optic that they've never seen. And Optic hasn't always proved to be the best at those mid-match kind of changes. to get wins off of teams like this that are kind of crazy and out there. You never know. I'm just saying, if it happens, it'll just be like, well, what do you know? Call of Duty.
Are you trying to bait me into a pick? I'm just kidding.
I'm
gonna go LA Thieves, Kenny versus Shawnee. It's gonna be nasty. LA Thieves 3-2 over London. They'll get close. They'll make it interesting. They're gonna look. We're gonna think they're different now. But then the same result will happen and we'll be sad. Atlanta FaZe versus New York Subliners. Man, this is a really interesting match. You have Atlanta FaZe. The Goliath has been taken down. LAG beat them in Stage 2. And then at Stage 2 Majors, obviously, Toronto beat them in a best-of-9. What? In finals. Handedly beat them. And I don't know. We could debate like the whole like should FaZe have had an advantage in the best of 9. I think they should have, since I know I've said on this podcast I love the best of 9. Don't give a lead, but if you've beat the exact team you're playing in the finals previously, then I think you should get that extra map. I don't know. Maybe I'm just spewing.
I think they still would have won. Yeah.
You think Toronto still would have won?
Oh yeah, they were playing better towards the end of that. Towards the end of that major, they were the best team in Call of Duty. Like they just they were unstoppable. They were in sync. They were playing ridiculously well. They looked good today, but not that good because Florida just kind of was struggling. But it'll be interesting to see this next match that we're about to talk about after this.
Man, so FaZe, they're looking human. They're still really good. They're probably gonna win like all of their matches forever, but they're looking human. And New York Subliners too. They've been a real hypey team. When they get hot, they get hot. But they've been really streaky. They didn't have a very good end to their Stage 2, I believe. Yeah, this will be our first look at them in Stage 3. I don't know what to call this. I guess I'm going to go with Atlanta FaZe 3-1. I don't know what map they'll drop, but they will drop one. That feels weird to say. Maybe they'll just 3-0. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 FaZe over Subliners. I hope Subliners can bounce back a little bit and make it interesting, though, because they were looking so dang good.
Well, Subliners have Hydra now.
True. Yo, okay, I'm so behind. Who'd they get out? I need to pay more attention. They dropped Mac for Hydra, so it's Mac, Asim, Clayster, and DiamondCon?
Yeah, Hydra, Asim, Clayster, and DiamondCon.
Dang. That's man, I want to catch each one. No, I'm just kidding. That's
it's interesting that they
got better.
Drop. I don't know who they could have dropped, but it's hard because I thought Mac was playing well. Like maybe it just wasn't fitting. Maybe they just, wanted Hydra to come in and fry. Yeah, he was one of the best over in Europe, and then came over here and did well, did good as well in challengers and looks really good. I mean, there is a slight language barrier, but if he's frying, he's frying.
He can speak whatever he wants as long as he's frying, right?
To be honest, FaZe showed their hand a little bit. Yeah, they've only lost 2 series the entire year. They're ridiculous, but
that's crazy.
They showed their hand a little bit. Ending the Stage 2. Their Search and Destroy. I don't know if we got to talk about it, but Simp and Arcides had the biggest dips in Search and Destroy KD over the entire stage of Stage 2. In the top 10 of S&D KD negative KDs that went negative in the top 10, all 4 players from Atlanta FaZe were in that. I don't know what in the world happened, but they have Tupac now, and so they have an S&D coach. Not that they needed it. I heard Crowder mention that on something. He was like, we didn't really need an S&D coach, but it's going to make us better. But for the Atlanta FaZe to not be dominant in Search, that's how they exposed their hand. And what happened, honestly, everybody else caught up. They were so good Stage 1, they were unstoppable in Search. And when we saw them beat Optic was it the opener when they beat Optic 12-1 in round count? And like Scump dropped a donut in the first time that they beat him 6-0 in the first and then in the 5th map it was like 6-0 or 6-1. And we were like, oh no, if FaZe is playing like this, it's going to be a long year for everybody. And I think, honestly, everybody caught up in Search. A lot of teams got better. Even Dallas recently is better in Search. They were good, and then they got a little bad in Stage 2 towards the end, and now they're back in top form again. And so I'm interested. I'm going to be blatantly honest. this is a winnable match for the New York Subliners. If Hydra comes out and just balls to the wall, and maybe that's what New York's trying to do, is really compete with teams like the Atlanta FaZe. I mean, they're technically third right now in the league, tied for third with Optic at 140. Like they're they're right there chomping at the bit, and I think they don't want to lose a step. I'm gonna say, all right, I'm gonna curveball it 3-2 New York Subliners.
Oh, an upset pick! Dang.
Give me all my points.
Yo, correction
all
by
of
the way.
them.
Chat said that they actually dropped Diamond instead of Mac, so they've got Hydra,
what?
Mac, Asim, and Clay. And the pacing with Asim and Hydra is gonna be.
This is so confusing.
Dude, listen, I've been able. I admit it, I will do better research for the next podcast.
No,
I've been able
that
to keep
sounds
up with the
way
roster
better
media.
to me. That sounds way better to me as a roster.
So now
and I'll even
now
keep
you're like
my
3-0.
I'll keep my prediction.
All right.
No,
now you feel better about it. You're like, okay.
No, I'll keep
All
my. Go ahead.
This is kind of what I'll say, because I think that Atlanta showed that they were at least partially human. But one thing that I really think plays into their loss against Toronto is the fact that Toronto had the first matchup against Minnesota on Championship Sunday. They won that. They were feeling themselves. Then they come out and they play Dallas. They get that victory. Now they're feeling themselves even more, and that propels them into that final, whereas Atlanta didn't play that entire day. They're coming off cold. Sure, you can say that they were scrimming Optic or whoever behind the scenes, but it's just a different vibe, and it's just a different feel for these squads. So in this one, I get that Atlanta lost to Toronto, and Toronto looked tremendous. They were playing with a ton of confidence, and Kleenex was playing fantastic, and Vance was playing unbelievable and whatever. But it's still Atlanta, and I just feel like New York, could this roster change be great for them? Absolutely. I'm excited to watch Hydra, because I feel like for the last 4 months, a lot of people are kind of looking at him to be the same player as Simp when he came in and Shotzi when he came in. Like, this is, I've been hearing about Hydra for months and months and months now, and he's been playing really well in AMs and so on and so forth. But I want to see it on this stage, and I think that this is a big moment for them. So over the course of this stage, again, new roster, I want to see, like, how does New York play against London? How does New York play against LA Thieves? Like, are they beating those teams to be that third team that's in the winner's bracket, or are they not? So it'll be interesting to see, like, if New York was playing Atlanta last, and we could see that, okay, they easily handled London, they easily handled Seattle and stuff like that, then it might be a little bit of a different story for me. But I think with a roster change, not quite sure how they're going to play, and they're going up against the best team in the game by far, even though they did just lose to Toronto. I'm taking Atlanta here. I'll give a map to New York. I'll say 3-1 Atlanta, but I don't know. I still hold Atlanta as number one, and then everybody else kind of, there's a pretty big separation from number two for me still.
This New York team with that roster, like, if it is Diamond that got dropped and it's Mac, Asim, Clayster, and Hydra, like, really,
it's kind of freaky.
Really, they got that kind of, Empire when they're on fire type of vibe. Like, they could be dangerous. If Clay's hitting his shots, rotating and doing his thing.
I'm worried about Clay, man. Did you see his tweets? I know he's definitely like the most passionate person in the CDL, right? His highs are high, his lows are low.
Yeah.
But man, he was just seeming down on Twitter after they had a rough end to stage 2. So I just really hope that he could bounce back. Did I predict this yet, by the way? No, right?
No, you didn't.
I think FaZe is going to 3-1 New York. Maybe even 3. I'll just stick with 3-1 though. New York, I'm excited to see them. There's a lot of firepower on that team, but you can be dang sure that Atlanta FaZe, I think they're about to go on another crazy match winning run, and it's not going to be pretty for anyone that faces them after losing to Toronto in a best of 9. Crazy, crazy time. Speaking of Toronto, the Game Feel marquee match of the whole dang weekend. This is one that everyone wants to see. The big bad new wolf, Toronto Ultra, just south of Minneapolis, Toronto, just for anyone who didn't know that. They're going to go up against Dallas Empire to cap off the weekend on Sunday. Whew. I think Dallas Empire is going to 3-1 them just slight,
Whoa.
they're gonna come out hot, dude. I think
It's possible.
I don't know. I need to go rewatch the Matt Dalter match from today because I haven't watched it yet. But from the sounds of it, they weren't looking like the world beaters they were 2 weeks ago. And I don't know
They
if they
were
need to
good.
be world
Yeah.
beaters to beat Dallas, but I think Dallas is just, they come correct. I mean, it's like we said at the beginning, right? They find ways to win. And maybe it'll be 3. Actually, no, probably would be better for me to predict 3-2 because of the trends. But hey, I'll go crazy. I'll go 3-1. That's my prediction. Kingdom, what do you think?
I'm in a very similar place as you. I think that one of the things that Insight, I believe, they interviewed him after the match today, and he said, like, and when they asked, like, what are you guys doing so well and what's different? And all he could say was the vibes, because after we won that major, you know, he's like, I feel more confident. And I'm like, okay, now I'm interested in what's going to happen if you kind of get punched in the mouth a little bit by a team that is better than Florida, you know,
They beat the
because
Mutineers.
Icon's right. They went on a run. They got to play so many matches, you know, to go into that final. And so they were hot. They had the juice. They were feeling themselves that day. And when you're feeling yourself and you're beating all these great teams, because they beat great teams to get into that final, they believed that at that point, look, we can beat FaZe. Why not? You know, and FaZe opened the door by just struggling in search. And so I think that Dallas is going to, man, this is either going to be a 3-1 or a 3-2 in my opinion, like, because I think Dallas is out to prove something right now too. Krim takes chatter seriously, even if he doesn't always respond to it.
He does, man.
Yeah, he's 30-something time champion. You know, this dude, you start talking like, this is not the dominant Dallas that we thought they were going to be, and blah.
He just wins. He just wins.
Right. So I'm going to, now Dallas could lose this. It would be interesting and make the group really interesting, honestly, to see where everybody landed. But I'm going to say 3. I don't know how this isn't a 3-2, but somehow I'm going to say 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1 Dallas. I think they'll lose maybe the hard point, the first one, and then win 3 in a row. But we'll see how it goes. I think the new control stuff actually in the long run helps a team like Dallas that plays so methodical. So 3
I like the fact
Dallas.
I like the fact that you stuck with your guns and took Dallas after, you know, we were kind of, at least I was kind of harping on them a bit earlier. But again, I don't see where everybody gets the confidence in Dallas because they lost to Toronto. They lost to Atlanta. They should have lost to Minnesota. Sure, they beat New York, but New York was obviously down in stage 2. Before that, they lost to Optic. I don't know. Sure, they're Dallas. I think that they're a top 5 team, but they're not playing as of late better than Minnesota. They're not playing better than Atlanta, or they're not playing better than like. There are teams that I just don't feel they're not playing better than Optic. They're not playing better than Toronto. I get it. They're Dallas, but I mean, they're taking some L's to all these top teams as of late. I think that has to count for something, whereas Toronto came out and went on one of the most impressive runs that we've seen this year. So with that in mind, I mean, Toronto got a I don't want to say an easy victory, but it was a pretty easy dub today against Florida, and Bance didn't even play well. And if they're starting to do that when they have a guy that's not even really hitting on all cylinders, I just think Toronto's the better squad right now, and I think that the roster change really did help them a bunch. So I'm going to go map 5 here, but I think Toronto's going to win. I just feel like right now they're on such a high. I don't see it in Dallas. Can things change? Absolutely. But and also
you're calling Dallas to lose a map 5. You should have said 3-1 Toronto.
Nope, 3-2.
No, so are you saying? Oh no, it's round 11. They're undefeated.
Round 11, they're undefeated. Yeah, 8-0. It's ridiculous.
But there is a bunch of implications here because you'd expect these 2 teams and Minnesota, but you know those 3 teams are like the ones that you'd expect to be the top 3 in Group A. So whoever wins this definitely has that upper leg when it comes to who's going to get the number 1 seed coming out of this group.
I agree.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. I'm super stoked to, you know, it felt like for how much COD we've been seeing, how aggressive the CDL schedule is. It feels like it's all every weekend, and then you have majors, it's all week almost. I missed it last week, man. I was getting dizzy with roster media. I obviously wasn't able to keep up as much. Now the matches are back on, so I know the results already, but I'm gonna go rewatch today's match or watch today's match for the first time. I'm stoked for the rest of the weekend. As a reminder, guys, Minnesota ROKKR plays only one time. There's gonna be one weekend every stage that we only play one time. That's this weekend. Then the rest of it is gonna be 2-match weekends until the majors hits. So I'll be excited. We'll be playing at 3:30 Central Standard Time on Saturday versus, why can't I think of it?
Florida.
See it. Florida Mutineers. Thank you. I looked at an old schedule. Yeah, so Florida Mutineers, Minnesota ROKKR, Florida Mutineers, 3:30 Central Standard Time, right here on the ROKKR YouTube. Come to the co-stream, hang out with me and IKON, and, just vibe out, bro. Listen, sometimes we get pissed. Sometimes we're happy. Sometimes we're talking smack. Sometimes we're gassing. It's a good time. To hope to see you guys there. And yeah, I'm excited for the matches this weekend. IKON, Kingdom, thank you so much. It was so good to talk COD with you guys again. And we will see you guys next Tuesday.